Hello everyone, welcome back to Ansarkari. In today's newspaper session, we will be dealing with the important newspaper articles of 11 September 2024. So the first article for today says PM Modi convenes first meeting of the National Research Fund Board. So here, Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, he convened the first meeting of the governing board of the Anusandhan National Research Foundation. So again, this is an initiative with regard to research कि कैसे जो ये अनुसंधान नेशनल रिसर्च फाउंडेशन है it can help in bridging the gap between teaching and innovation. कैसे जो country का research ecosystem है that can be revolutionized and also hub and spoke model का हम use कर सकते हैं for backward and forward linkages with this regard as well. कैसे the smaller institutions or the institutions, perhaps the actual setup infrastructure of institutions in the tier 2, tier 3 cities, how they can be connected with the tier 1 ones. And also with regard to the central universities. Plus, we had also discussed yesterday itself about how it is very important for the private participation or the reliance over the private utilization of funds instead of the instead of over reliance on government itself, so that we don't get to see the problem in issuing the funds and the infrastructure that must be available for the research and innovation. Further, we read about two terms as well. The first one was TRL, that is technology readiness levels. So focus करना चाहिए on supporting the lower technology readiness levels. And second is focused research organization and deep tech startups जो कि complement करेगा अनुसंधान रिसर्च फाउंडेशन के efforts को. And अनुसंधान रिसर्च फाउंडेशन की बात करते हैं तो it is inspired by the US National Science Foundation. तो coordinate करना is also very important here. So it will also bridge the gap between the academic research or the industrial applications होंगे through the industrial aligned translational research. Next, a panoramic view of China-Africa summit. So we had already read about कि कैसे जो India है, it can become very important. कैसे जो Africa है, it can become very important for India, be it in terms of export-oriented growth and also with regard to support, be it in terms of trade as we pass through the and other ways की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो again we have historical ties and economic cooperation में exports में again Africa exports natural resources जैसे कि oil, gas, minerals to India. And India exports pharmaceuticals, machinery, automobiles, and textiles. So major what we read regarding Africa was how there can be more partnership that can be seen in terms of the setting up of industries or industrialization in Africa. कैसे there can be more investment by India and also in terms of the drought-like um aggressive climatic situations that most of the African countries face, for example, Nigeria, etc. In terms of drought, तो वहाँ पर भी in regard of food, India can help and also pharmaceutical, then further drugs related. So that was the main relations. And अब जो challenges की बात करते हैं तो again अगर हम इंडिया की एंगेजमेंट की बात करते हैं अफ्रीका में, तो वो ऑफन चाइना के कंपैरिजन में देखी जाती है, विच हैज अ लार्जर इकोनॉमिक फुटप्रिंट। तो कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग और जो सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट है, उसके ऊपर फोकस करना इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। फर्दर जो सस्टेनेबिलिटी है, क्लाइमेट चेंज है, उसके अकॉर्डिंग we can see. And here, when we talk about the China Africa community, so we majorly have these three areas, that is Global Development Initiative GDI, for Global Security Initiative, and Global Civilization Initiative. So China has now hailed the progress of the African Continental Free Trade Area and expressed a readiness to sign a framework agreement for economic partnership with Africa. So the Chinese view is that a natural partnership exists between China, the largest developing country in the world, and Africa, the continent with largest number of developing countries. तो अगेन इसलिए कोलैबोरेशन यहाँ पे एक अच्छा स्कोप प्रोवाइड करेगा। एंड अगर हम बात करते हैं द इम्पोर्ट फॉर इंडिया, तो अगेन हिस्टोरिकल बॉन्ड, एडिशनल कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस और स्टीरिंग रेटोरिकल यूजफुल, लेकिन जो फाइनेंशियल जनरोसिटी है, लाइक इन टर्म्स ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट एटसेट्रा, दैट मस्ट बी बूस्टेड टू फ्यूल द इंडिया अफ्रीका कोऑपरेशन। तो गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज मस्ट also be directed towards the same. Further, when we discuss about India and UAE, so recently we signed the Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement, apart from three major others that were mainly regarding setting up of food parks and also setting up of gas pipelines and also regarding the oil trade. So, when we talk about the information or relevance, so our countries appear to be very different. India is almost 40 times larger than the UAE in size and also the most populous country in the world. There are more than 1,000 Indian citizens for every Emirati citizen. तो इकोनॉमीज जो है दे आर टू फाउंडेड ऑन डिफरेंट स्ट्रेंथ्स। जो एग्रीकल्चर दैट इज किलर की पिलर फॉर इंडियाज इकोनॉमी, लेकिन यूएई की जीडीपी में इट मेक्स लेस देन 1%। तो जो हिस्ट्री और गवर्नेंस है, इवन दे आर वेरी डिफरेंट, yet there are strong ties due to common interests and values। की जब हम बात करें जैसे कि साउथ साउथ कोऑपरेशन की हम बात कर सकते हैं, तो कॉमन इंटरेस्ट, फर्दर मल्टीलेटरलिज्म, ग्रोथ, इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन, डाइवर्सिटी, तो दे डू एग्जिस्ट। तो कुछ एंशंट अगर हम रिलेशंस की बात करते हैं, तो पोर्ट्री दैट वाज डिस्कवर्ड इन recent archaeological excavations in Abu Dhabi, it shows connections to the Indus Valley civilization. For further medical treatment, maybe India helped a lot of Emiratis since long times as well. So the degree of connectivity it can be seen in the simple fact that there are more than 1,500 flights between UAE and India. तो मेजर अगर हम बात करते हैं कि वे फॉरवर्ड क्या है, तो जो कोऑपरेशन अग्रीमेंट्स है जैसे कि सिविल न्यूक्लियर टेक्नोलॉजी और डोमेस्टिक सक्सेस स्टोरी है फॉर एमरेट्स, और इंटरनेशनल कोऑपरेशन, न्यूक्लियर जो डीसेलिनेशन है टू प्रोड्यूस क्लीन ड्रिंकिंग वाटर, तो ये भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है फॉर अ डेजर्ट कंट्री सच एज द यूएई। So this is one of the major areas that we are working upon. Or green energy production, medical technology, scientific research, agriculture and industry. So closer ties, and also UAE is the third largest trading partner of India. Next, even as unemployment halves in Haryana, its youth seeks job abroad. So here again, this is regarding the union government surveys. So periodic labor force survey by the Ministry of Statistics and program implementation तो दिखाता है कि unemployment rate जो है of those above 15 years of age in the urban areas has more than halved from 8.8% to 4.1%. और जो national average है that is 6.7%. लेकिन यहाँ पे sharp contrast देखने को मिल रहा है कि Haryana with an unemployment rate of 9%, more than double the national rate of 4.1%, has fared poorly compared with its neighbors, including Uttar Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan and Punjab. So the high unemployment rate in 2022, that was majorly due to the post-COVID economic slowdown. Further, we talk about Mission 60,000 for youth employment for below poverty line families. So इसमें there was engagement that was created. Them as One Mitras, E-Seva Mitra and Kisan Mitras and imparting training to 10,000 youth to become contractors. तो again यहाँ पे skill based establishment and efforts to create employment after skill based training that was tried here. Further, even societal crisis can be seen here कि the skewed sex ratio उसकी वजह से भी men are forced to remain single, which again pushes them into drug addiction and crime. And overqualified individuals who are unemployed. Going abroad is again the another major solution that is being seen here for employment purposes. Next 20-kilometer daily free travel each way on national highway for vehicles with sat-nav system. तो satellite navigation system GNSS की जब हम बात करते हैं ग्लोबल नेविगेशन सैटेलाइट सिस्टम एज द टर्म सजेस्ट ये इलेक्ट्रॉनिक टोल कलेक्शन है अगेन जैसे फास्टैग होता है उसी की तरह से इट विल वर्क बट it will again track in a better way, track the vehicles in a better way so that the time it reduces at the tolls फिर जो collection of tax है that again increases और ज़्यादा surveillance होएगी इससे and also the cost during the logistics they might also get reduced. The several benefits. Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Next, center relaxes norms under the PMAY Grameen. तो जब हम प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना की बात करते हैं एज अ नेम सजेस्ट इट इज मेनली फॉर द सेटिंग अप ऑफ हाउस होल्ड तो इससे हाउसिंग प्रोवाइड होएगी इन ऑल द रूरल एरियाज सो 2016 में इट वाज लॉन्च जो कि जो इंदिरा आवास योजना है उसको इसने रिप्लेस कर दिया था so that the every rural household has access to permanent housing with basic amenities. So again, 2.9 crore houses were supposed to be built here. Or funding pattern again, centrally sponsored scheme है. So 60-40 ratio and 90-10 ratio was seen here. और जो सोशो इकोनॉमिक कास्ट सेंसस है 2011 का उसके बेसिस पर द बेनिफिशियरीज वर टू बी आइडेंटिफाइड अदर स्कीम्स के साथ भी कन्वर्जेंस देख सकते हैं जैसे स्वच्छ भारत मिशन उज्ज्वला योजना फिर जल जीवन मिशन और इवन सौभाग्य योजना which was to provide the electricity. So these were the major schemes. तो better
And
living conditions.
what can be the benefits of the implementation of this scheme? So we are seeing that empowerment of women is also one of the objectives, because women beneficiaries, they would be either they would be complete owners or they will be co-owners of the houses. And then we can say that it focuses upon sustainable and eco-friendly housing in terms of the construction methods and the technologies which are being used, or the materials of construction. So green housing practices are being promoted. Then we have uh, financial assistance for the house construction and the improvement. This is also one of the features if you do not completely want to construct a new house. So it gives even better protection to the people, even when we are talking about reducing the deaths because of lightning also, because that is also one of the concerns. So a pakka house uh, would be much more safer, and housing for all is the objective. So it would be again focusing upon the marginalized communities like SC, STs and the minorities. So social equity, that would be one of the benefit. And boosting the real estate and the allied sectors also. So this would be increasing the demand for housing, increasing the demand for construction material, labor and related industries. So these are, we can say, the backward linkages which are related to it, and the forward linkages. Improved quality of life. So if people would be getting a pakka house, so we can say that their savings, they that might be channelized towards increased consumer spending. The money which they might have been saving for again buying a new house or for the construction, so we can say that that resources can be channelized in the form of consumer spending. So that would boost more demand in the economy. It would again lead to more economic growth. and when we are talking about the uh, planned urbanization also, so in that case also it will be helping in terms of slum rehabilitation also, or the redevelopment with secure houses. And again, the method of application of the scheme is promoting more of transparency and the ease of application. So it becomes more accessible and efficient for the beneficiaries through the online platform for registration and applying for it. So we are doing away with the bureaucratic delays, or as we call the red tapeism, and increasing the accountability. And it is connected with, again, as you just mentioned, Swachh Bharat Mission, with the Ujjwala Yojana, where LPG connections at subsidized prices, they are provided. Saubhagya scheme, which is Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana. So if there is a Pakka house, so all these schemes and the benefits can also be effectively implemented.
Hmm. And here it is regarding the relaxation in the criteria. जैसे कि even the ones owning two-wheelers, motorized fishing boats and refrigerators, landline phones, they can now avail the rural housing scheme. So even the criteria becomes important. कि who are we selecting? Who are the actual beneficiaries? Next, NBWL clears power lines in National Park Flamingo Habitat. So the National Board for Wildlife है, NBWL, has cleared a controversial transmission line project that sparked protests and concerns over deforestation in Goa's Mollem National Park. तो मोलेम नेशनल पार्क की बात करते हैं तो अगेन इट इज विद इन भागवन महावीर सैंक्चुरी. तो ये प्रोटेक्टेड एरिया है इन द बायोडाइवर्स वेस्टर्न घाट्स which is home to tigers, gores, sloths, bears, besides an area of amphibians and reptiles. तो मोलेम नेशनल पार्क, गोवा एंड भगवान महावीर सैंक्चुरी. और अगर हम नेशनल बोर्ड ऑफ वाइल्ड लाइफ की बात करते हैं तो ये स्टैट्यूटरी बॉडी है which was established under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 for promotion and conservation of wildlife. तो ये अप्रेज करती है और अप्रूव करती है डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स को जो कि विद इन एंड आउटसाइड फॉल करते हैं ऑफ द प्रोटेक्टेड एरियाज सच एज सैंक्चुरीज, नेशनल पार्क्स एंड टाइगर रिजर्व्स.
And also, it is chaired by the Prime Minister of India, and it includes 46 members. So they are both a mix of government officials and the non-government officials. And we are also seeing members like the Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, who is the vice chairperson, and several state ministers also. And then there are 10 eminent conservationists, ecologists, and environmentalists who are the representatives of NGOs and the civil societies. So it is advisory in nature. It advises the government on the policies and the measures for the conservation of wildlife. So this needs to be remembered, and it approves or it rejects the proposals for activities within the protected areas like the national parks and the wildlife sanctuaries. So there it is the final decision-making body. And it reviews the implementation of various wildlife conservation laws and the regulations. Then it is responsible for formulating strategies for the protection of endangered species and their habitats. And again, it is also looking into providing guidance on different projects like Project Tiger, Project Elephant, or rhino conservation. So these are the important functions.
हम्म एंड इसमें जो इम्पैक्ट ऑफ ट्रांसमिशन लाइंस एंड बायोडाइवर्सिटी उसको स्टडी करना इज इम्पोर्टेंट, और ट्रांसमिशन पिलर्स जो है उनको गार्ड करना, प्लस डिवाइड करना इनटू वायर जोन फॉर एरियाज बिलो द पावर लाइन एंड बॉर्डर जोन और एरियाज बिटवीन द ट्रांसमिशन टावर्स फॉर प्लांटेशन. तो कच्छ डेजर्ट वाइल्ड लाइफ सैंक्चुरी इन द ग्रेट रन ऑफ कच्छ, in the wildlife sanctuary in the Little Run of Kutch. So Great Run of Kutch and Little Run of Kutch. Further, great flamingos की जब हम बात करते हैं तो they are found in India and majorly in Gujarat itself. Further कुछ threatened bird species की बात करते हैं तो here we have Asian houbara, vultures, cranes and storks. Storks की बात करते हैं तो they are majorly found in Assam. And इसमें there was also a stork army that is found in Assam that was created by household women themselves, and that was for the conservation of these storks. जिसमें they used to create such sarees etc. जिनमें के storks were uh, printed to generate awareness from village to village.
Greater flamingos, these are migratory bird species who migrate to India during the winter months, specifically from November to March, and then they return back to the breeding grounds in countries like Iran and African countries by the onset of the summers. So in India, we find one of the largest numbers, and they are found in again Run of Kutch, Gujarat, Chilika Lake in Odisha, in Point Calumet, Tamil Nadu, and then in Maharashtra's Savory Mudflats, and then in Bhandu pumping station in Mumbai. Then the breeding grounds or the nesting regarding that. So again, Gujarat is one of the famous states or the places where they breed. So again, there is one city in Gujarat also, which is named Flamingo City. So this is the largest breeding site in Asia. And they have distinctive appearance. They are the tallest flamingo species, standing at around 120 to 150 centimeters in heights. And they are also known as the filter feeders. So there was a question also in prelims regarding this. We had to identify which of the options were correct as far as filter feeders is concerned. So they are like using their specialized beaks to filter food from the water, hence the name filter feeders. And conservation status, their IUCN status is least concern. Protected under Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 in India. And then there are several states also in India which are having flamingo festivals, which celebrate the arrival of these migratory birds and promote wildlife tourism, ecotourism. And it is celebrated in like Nellore in Andhra Pradesh. So there is one of the famous flamingo festival which is hosted by Andhra Pradesh. So they are having important role in ecological balance and the conservation in terms of, for example, ecological role in wetland ecosystems by controlling the population of algae and small vertebrates. So this is one of the important thing. And then they also act as indicator species also, signifying the health and the balanced wetland ecosystem.
IIT Madras's campus in East Africa showcases its enhanced ambition and responsibility. तो अगेन enhanced ambition की जब हम बात करते हैं तो कैसे हो सकता है मेनली इन टर्म्स ऑफ इनोवेशन और ज़्यादा स्प्रेड करना और ज़्यादा रीच को इंक्रीज करना बेटर कैपेबिलिटीज बेटर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी की बात करते हैं तो अगेन dealing and maintaining the existing quality and innovation that is provided in terms of teaching in the institution and research के relation में तो Institute of Eminence grant from the Government of India has spurred centers of excellence at IIT Madras, which ambitious to be one of the top 5 global in their respective fields. और अगर हम बात करते हैं फर्स्ट ओवरसीज कैंपस के तो इन जंजीबार तो आईआईटी मद्रास जंजीबार इज द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ अ ट्राइपार्टाइट agreement between Government of India, Government of Zanzibar and IIT Madras. तो जुलाई 2023 में it was signed. Further, full-time degree programs provide होंगे in data science and AI. फिर a digital first campus with state-of-the-art classrooms, labs and auditorium, living and dining facilities. These are all provided in the institutions.
So here the aim behind declaring an institute, a higher educational institute as an institute of eminence is that the government has the aim, or we have the aim through this scheme to achieve world-class status and improve the global ranking of these institutions. So this was launched by Ministry of Education in 2017, and here we are seeing that there would be 20 institutes of eminence that would be declared, 10 public institutions and 10 private institutions. Apart from this, what benefit it would give the Institute of Eminence? They would have greater autonomy compared to the higher education institutions. For example, in terms of setting the fees for different courses, hiring foreign faculty, admitting foreign students, and entering into collaboration with the foreign institutions. So we can say they have the autonomy in determining their own academic and administrative policies with minimal interference from regulatory bodies like University Grants Commission. But it has to be in a transparent manner. And then the public institutions, they receive the financial assistance of up to rupees 1,000 crores from the government over a 5 years of period to improve the infrastructure, faculty, and the research capabilities. And private institutions are not eligible for the government funding. So they are provided with the regulatory benefits and autonomy to raise their own funds. So this is very important feature. Only public institutions enjoy the financial assistance. And selection criteria when it comes to how we decide an institute would be declared as an institute of eminence, it is based on their potential for excellence, their academic and research performance. So these are like subjective in nature. They are not so micro that it so this is one of the concerns even related to its effective implementation and the selection of the institutions. And it is like, for example, another criteria is global ranking potential. So how will you determine that potential? That is the concern. And the selection is carried out by an empowered expert committee, which is chaired by the renowned academic and scientist N. Gopal Swami. So in terms of public institutes, we have the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, IIT Delhi is there, Madras, and Kharagpur. University of Delhi is there, Banaras Hindu University. So these are the examples of public institutes, and the private ones includes like BITS Pilani, Then we have Manipal Academy of Higher Education, then OP Jindal Global University, Sonipat. So these are the private ones.
So this article is mainly regarding the rural electrification scheme under the Rajiv Gandhi Gramin Vidyutikaran Yojana. So again, it boosted economic activity in large villages. तो again जो number of firms है उनमें जो monthly expenditure है per capita that had increased. Or electrification it boosted the monthly expenditure by rupees 1428, while the number of firms and firm employees it increased by 9 and 10 and 9% respectively. और जो small villages है वहां पे electrification it did not impact per capita expenditure. So it was to provide domestic and commercial access to electricity below poverty line families in more than 4 lakh rural villages. तो again जो electricity का access है it boosts GDP at the national level. But क्या ये जरूरी है कि it will improve the lives of those living in the small communities?
We can say it is one of the factors when it comes to determining the improved standard of living of the people. So that is why on similar lines we have the Saubhagya scheme also, which is also providing the Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana, electrification or electricity connection to the households.
Yes, जी. Next, India bats for new disclosure norms for cross-border credit card transactions under the Financial Action Task Force. So again, FATF, it is working towards new norms for higher disclosures of financial institutions, payment aggregators or fintech companies for the cross-border payments, जो mainly credit card transactions को inquire करती हैं. तो virtual asset service providers or financial institutions की need है to share data about these transactions. तो क्यों मेजरली इम्पोर्टेंट है सो एज टू प्रिवेंट द मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग या फिर जो हम बात करते हैं टेरर फाइनेंसिंग की या इवन जस्ट फॉर अवेयरनेस इटसेल्फ क्या क्या रेमिटेंसेस है क्या डेटा है उस सब के लिए दे बिकम वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. और अगर हम इंडिया में बात करते हैं क्या गवर्नमेंट इंस्टीट्यूशन है इनिशिएटिव्स हैं तो फर्स्ट वी हैव द फेमा फॉरेन एक्सचेंज मैनेजमेंट एक्ट 1999. फिर आरबीआई की गाइडलाइंस हो गई फॉर रेमिटेंसेस ओवरसीज डायरेक्ट इन्वेस्टमेंट एफडीआई मसाला बॉन्ड्स की जब हम बात करते हैं. फिर पीएमएलए 2002 एज आई जस्ट नाउ मेंशन्ड और फाइनेंशियल एक्शन टास्क फोर्स कंप्लायंस केवाईसी की बात करते हैं एंटी मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग नॉर्म्स की बात करते हैं. फर्दर वी हैव स्विफ्ट that is Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication System. तो ये facilitate करता है secure and standardized international transaction between the banks. तो ये SWIFT system important है and also global payments innovation. तो
So
अगर
Hmm. Apart from this, we have RBI has issued digital lending guidelines in 2022, and even we were seeing that certain the digital uh, loan lending apps they were banned, specifically the ones which are having rules from China because of again the suspicion and again they were not transparent and accountable. So this is one. Then we have data privacy and security also. So we have again right now the Information Technology Act of 2000 and then Digital Personal Data Protection Bill 2023. So data privacy and security covering the fintechs is important, handling the personal and the financial data. So here account aggregators framework is there in India, which is again regulated by RBI. So this consolidates the financial data from multiple sources in a single place. So account aggregator framework. Then it is also based on consent-based data sharing. Consent of the people whose data is being aggregated. Then role of SEBI is important. So SEBI's regulation of robo-advisory services mandates that fintech platforms providing automated or algorithm-based financial advice should be registered as investment advisors under the SEBI regulation 2013. Then we have the National Payments Corporation of India. Their initiatives like they are regulating the unified payment interface. We're promoting encryption, end-to-end encryption, and they're having their separate guidelines as well. For the transaction limits are there, then the interoperability standards are there, and security protocols that needs to be adhered. For example, we have UPI third-party app provider guidelines for like the fintech apps which are having large user base like Google Pay, Phone Pay, and Paytm. And as you just mentioned, the KYC norms are very important here. Then role of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology becomes important in terms of their initiatives like National Digital Payment Mission, frameworks like prevention of unauthorized digital transactions. So in terms of awareness generation, and similarly, they have issued digital payment security controls guidelines. And PMLA Act you mentioned, then peer-to-peer lending regulation, particularly for the NBFCs. For example, Rupee Circle is one of the NBFC. So they are regulated. And then we have the regulatory sandboxes technique to promote more of innovation while ensuring the regulatory compliance. For example, companies like Nucleus Software and HDFC Bank, they have tested innovative solutions related to retail payments under this regulatory sandbox technique.
Mansi जी, I had a question. You just mentioned NBFCs. तो वो क्रॉस
Right.
बॉर्डर में भी हेल्प करता है क्रॉस
हाँ,
बॉर्डर
cross border payments भी हो सकती है, right?
हम्म
If there is no transparency or we are seeing that even they are having certain linkages with the shell companies, so definitely tariff financing can be done through them as well.
And also once when I also asked regarding the terror financing, तो उसमें
Hmm.
बिटकॉइन की बात हुई थी कि हाउ क्रिप्टो करेंसी बिटकॉइन इज यूज्ड. तो
That is being
इसके लिए
used even.
क्या
Hmm.
मेजर्स हो सकते हैं इनको प्रिवेंट करने के लिए.
सी बिटकॉइन जब हम स्पेसिफिकली क्रिप्टो करेंसी रेगुलेशन की बात करते हैं तो अगेन वी आर नॉट हैविंग अ uniform and a comprehensive law or a standard as of now as far as when we're talking about India. So firstly we need a global collaboration on this as well, because the concern or the challenge here is that it is a decentralized transaction system where no central bank is regulating the issue of the currency. It is merely happening on the basis of demand and supply, and similarly the value is also fluctuating accordingly. So in terms of India, we've recently again introduce the regulation in terms of 30% tax would be implied on any type of the returns that you have generated after the investments in the cryptocurrencies. And then there is 1% TDS, and then awareness generation is going to play very important role in this, because people, they are merely investing into cryptos just because they want to earn huge amount of profit or they want to people money which was meant for investment in the cryptos. So this is going to play important role.
Next is on ANI's defamation suit against Wikipedia.
Here I'm sharing the next link.